And we're off. I was going to follow up the last couple of witness reports with a change of pace. A run-of-the-mill, decaf, down-to-earth, vanilla-flavoured Yowie story. And then this one came along, and it's a good one. And it lands almost on top of our two other favourite reports from the Victorian High Country. Cast your mind back to Witness Audio Report number 183 from Mount Hotham. You know the one. The Fabio-like Yowie crossing the road, carrying a cowbell. Take a look.
It was about 2 a.m. by the time we'd hit there. I'd veered around one of the corners. It was going towards the right. And there, very close to us, like very close, walking across the road mere metres, was this giant, like man. Like I thought it was a man. Like it was huge. It was the biggest thing I've ever seen. And it was blonde, long blonde hair, like a woman's hair. Face and chest didn't have hair on it. It was skin. But as it went down, it got hairier and hairier. And it was carrying a cowbell, because I can still remember the sound it made, that ding, 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 as it was walking. When we first spotted it, was only maybe 10 metres in front of us, and it was walking across the road from the left to the right. And it sort of looked at us, and we sort of looked at it, and I'd taken my foot off the accelerator, and we were just sort of, gliding along. And it wasn't fazed by us at all, just sort of moved out of the way for us, and we sailed past, and I said to my husband, "Oh, what was that?" And he was quite panicky. He was drive faster. Obviously, I took off, and about a K down the road, I said, "Oh God, what did we just see?" And he's like, "I think we saw a Bigfoot," and really quite shocked, I suppose, about what we saw.
If you haven't heard that report in a while, it's worth revisiting. And while we're in the same neighbourhood, here's a story from alpine legend John Lovick on Charlie Lovick's YouTube channel, where he recounts an unforgettable night where he was attacked by a Yowie on the very next mountain.
Here's a little of John Lovick recounting what transpired that night in 1965.
Sometime during the night, I got woken up. I felt there was something wrong. And then I felt a pair of hands around my neck. And I thought, oh no, this is not right. I'm not awake. And these hands, they tightened on my neck. And I thought, this is real, this is happening. I sat up in bed, and as I did, I instinctively put my arms out to knock this thing off my neck. And all I could feel when I put my arms up was hair, strong hair, not fur. I just jumped up and forced myself up to force this thing off my body. In doing so, I fell out of the top bunk, I hit the floor, and this thing hit the floor with me. In the meantime, the door was open. The old man never ever shut a door in this hut. Now, I hit the floor, everyone woke up, but I was absolutely screaming. I was petrified. With all my screaming, I didn't see anything. I couldn't focus on anything. The two guys sleeping on the floor later tell me what they seen. But this thing, whatever it was, went out the door, and the silhouette of the moonlight, they could see that it filled the width of the door, and it was on two legs. It walked. It didn't bound on four, it walked out on two legs, and they reckon that it was half the height of the doorway. Now, the dogs outside, with the noise that happened in here, they bristled and they growled and they barked, and they were savage, absolutely savage. The old man got up, he got his torch. I said, oh, something bloody had me, something had me. Oh, he said, you having a nightmare? I said, no, something had me. He went outside, and the dogs are going crazy, they'd raced out, and he sooled them onto him. He said, get them boys, get them. Sooled them on. They'd go out a little bit further, and they'd come back right beside his feet, and they'd just sit there with their bristles up, snarling. They would not leave his side. They wouldn't go out. One of the blokes was looking at me, and he said, well, John, what's wrong with your neck? He said, your marks all over it. And then they all had a look, and there was impressions of overgrown nails from 2 hands clasped around my neck.
Luckily, Mr. Lovick didn't encounter one of the big ones, or he might not be here to talk about it.
Today's report comes from just over the next mountain, completing the trilogy of remarkable encounters in the Victorian Alps. This report offers a whole range of emotions, from the nameless dread and the realisation of total vulnerability to a witness profoundly affected by what he experienced. So grab a warm jacket and a beanie and check the local weather report as we join Paul Cropper and I say, welcome to Dinner Plains.
Take me through the experience, tell me what you were doing and what you saw.
A hut called McNamara's Hut. It's one of my favourite huts. I've been there numerous times. I like to just go out for walks with my dog. I love being outdoors. There's something about the peace and tranquility of it. It was a Saturday. Went out at about 9 a.m. I got to McNamara's Hut about 3 o'clock. Gave some food to my dog Razor, and we just kicked back, and it's just a beautiful place. When I go out, I'm actually super aware of everything that's going on. I've got to make sure before I do anything, I've got a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C. And to some people, that's a little intense, but it's just something that I've had to do throughout my life. So I check the weather, make sure I've got everything I need. I always leave with a lighter. I would rather have a lighter in some of these places because the weather can change drastically even if you're on the BOM. Like I said, it's about 3:30 and the weather starts to change a little bit, and I'm starting to think, it's about 2 hours back, and if I leave now and I've just sort of got here, it's sort of going to be a waste. So I thought I'd wait it out a little bit. Maybe another half an hour goes, there's a little bit of snowfall and stuff. Clouds get a little dark. And I'm thinking, I've got to leave now. I can light a fire here. If I have to stay here for the night, I can. Don't want to sort of walk at night. I'm okay. Everything's fine. I wasn't worried at that point. 10 minutes later, my dog Razor just starts barking, runs straight out the door. Maybe he's seen a deer or just an animal or just something. And I followed him. He's just gone sort of over this little clearing. I'm calling him. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I could hear nothing. There was a little bit of wind, but there was nothing. It just felt strange. So about 15 minutes, like I said, goes past. And then I hear, it was like a bellow. I'm not even going to say roar. And it's distinct from what other people have heard. I know people have said it was almost like it's got this power behind it. It did. But as soon as I heard it, I just instantly thought sorry my language, I thought I'm and I just felt so tiny and insignificant. And it was like, I can't explain it, mate, but other than dread, it was dread. And I was like, I've got to get back, but I don't want to leave my dog. And at the same time, I have to get out of here. I go back to the cabin, and then I hear my dog. As I'm probably 10 feet from the door, I hear my dog, and it was a whelp. And I sort of sunk, because I'm like, what was that sound? Now I hear my dog, and I was out yelling, "Where up?" Like Razor, like whistling, nothing. So I hear this whelp, and then, like, no shit. I'd been to this same spot. I walked around this same spot. On my mother's life, he wasn't there, but he was there then. He had some blood in his mouth. And I looked at him, I'm like, are you okay? He was okay, but he was sort of shaking a little bit. So I'm like, all right, let's go. We go back to the hut, and now it's nearly dark. don't know really what to do. And then I stand up and I sort of walk out, and I'm just sort of looking, scanning the area and stuff. I go up to the clearing on top. It's probably a 15-meter walk up to the top. I go up to the top and I start scanning again. There's nothing. But it's silent. I go back to the hut, and as I go back to the hut, as I'm walking, and then I just look back again, and this fucking thing is standing there. It's 8 foot, about 8 foot. It's blonde. Nothing on its face, no hair on its face, nothing on its chest. This thing was big, and this thing fucking terrified me. It had no expression. I stared at it for at least a minute or two, and there was absolutely no emotion. I'm at the fucking door, mate. I can't go anywhere, and I'm fucked. So I'm thinking, okay, so if this thing actually comes at me and I go inside, well, what happens then? I mean, there's nowhere I can go. There was one window. That was it. I would have had to jump through the window, but even then, at the time, I couldn't do I did nothing. I couldn't do anything. And then it's no expression. It just walked off. It walked off on 2 legs, just normally, and it wasn't hunched over. It obviously didn't. It wasn't a human. I know that, but it walked off. But the way it looked at me was like, "You're here. You're not supposed to be here, or whatever. Get out." There's either that, or it was basically, "Well, look, I could kill you. There's nothing in this world. No man could do anything to this." I would think in situations, oh, why wouldn't you do something? Oh, I know why people can't, because you can't obviously visualize what you're seeing because it doesn't make sense to you.
Did you end up staying there the night, or did you?
I couldn't leave. I didn't want to walk because I just felt, well, now I'm in the open. All I felt was that if it was going to come, it would have done it. At the same time, it's like I wanted to get out, but I couldn't. I like to think I'm tough. I'm not. And maybe it's a wake-up call that I needed, but not just that. I've never felt something like that where I felt so helpless in my life. It's affected my mental health a little bit. At one stage, I thought that maybe I was crazy. So, but I'm not. There was nothing gorilla or ape-like about this, even though it's something that I can put to it that sort of half resembles it. It didn't have that. It had a human-like quality. It didn't feel animalistic either, if that makes sense.
When you're looking at this thing, you said pretty big. It was like 8 foot. And it was
Yeah.
white. I mean, was it white or was it off-white?
It was like a blondie. It was a light coloured, almost like an amber blondie colour. It was light.
You mean like a tan, or do you mean like a whiter than a tan?
There's a lady who talks about an experience in Mount Hotham. The exact same thing she's seen. I'm not saying it was the exact same one, but it was the exact same. She talks about an experience where her and her husband was going along a road on Mount Hotham. This is what piqued my interest because she said it had a cowbell. She said it was blonde, it was bare chest and bare faced, and Mount Hotham is just over the hill from Dinner Plain. It's basically the same hill. It's the same mountain. It's just the other side. That, to me, gave validity to my experience. In the last few months, I've watched every video on this YouTube channel, the AYR. You can't forget something now, and you kind of wonder why it's not talked about much.
You mentioned there was hair in some parts and there was not hair in other parts. The hair that was there, was it long or was it short?
Like a Saint Bernard or some Labradors have a long and a short coat, but this was like a shorter coat. It was like hair, but It wasn't like shaggy or anything. It was, funny enough, it looked well groomed. The hair wasn't patchy or anything. It was basically one colour, and like I said, the hair wasn't on it. There was no hair on its face, and there was no hair on its chest.
What's the distance between you and it, Dith?
25 metres, no more than that.
Was it on track or was it just out in the open? And that snow stuff
Just
is low strike.
it was just there, like it appeared there. When I went and covered this area, my dog in that same area where I found it, I had been previous, and that dog wasn't there. I go back, I hear the dog go into that direction, and my dog's there. That's when this experience happens. When I taken my dog back, and I just sort of happened to look out again because I'm thinking, well, what's that noise? I didn't think of anything. I didn't think of a Bigfoot. I wasn't thinking of that. I just honestly thought, what was that? And then I seen it. That's what I seen. And like I said, I can only say that there was no emotion on it.
Now, when you're looking at its face, you made sort of comments about ape or human. Describe the face. I mean, like, was it a human face or was it...
Mate, I hate to say this, but it was human, but with like... So if you look at a gorilla, you can almost see the human-like side. You can almost put it to... almost of the same species or whatnot, but this was more human-like, but other than the face, nothing about it to me was human. But yes, the face was more human-like. The eyes were distinct. The nose was a little bigger.
Was it a human nose?
It was human-like, but it was like more broad. But it wasn't like a broad human nose, if that makes sense. It was almost like a hybrid of a human, like some people have recalled, and like when they say this mix of DNA and the genetics and human-like, but other than that, it wasn't human, but you could resemble a human, but it wasn't, obviously.
Oh, as you're watching this thing, just standing there, did it move at all? I mean, was it shifting from side to side? Was it doing anything?
It had no movement. It was like I was looking at something like a statue. There was no movement. There was no blinking. When you breathe in and out of your diaphragm, there was very little movement. For as big as it was, there was very little movement, almost like it was just quiet, like it wasn't breathing. And then it just turned around and walked. It just turned... That's it. There was like they just turned around and walked. And when I watched it, just walked, and then it sort of went into the sort of tree line, and then that was it. There was no sound. A lot of people say they see them bashing through the bush and the tree snapping. Nah, it was stealthy. For something that size to be that stealthy, that's not of this world, I don't think. There's nothing that can move like that. This was a human, like 8-foot creature. Obviously, I knew it had the strength to kill me. It would have had the speed to catch me if I ran. That's why I felt so helpless. But it also had something about it made me think that it wasn't of this world. It might be in this world. It might be a part of this world. But it's something that's not, So that's really my experience, and it's sort of done a little bit of not damage to me, but it's just something that I can't sort of wrap my head around.
Well, when you're looking at this thing, what was the body shape that you're looking at? Was it kind of like a V, or was it just straight up and
Absolutely
down?
A V, mate, a V. And when I say big, it was big. Yes, broad shoulders. Big round arms, the same thickness, but it was ripped. It wasn't fat. This thing was ripped.
Arms, same length as a human, shorter?
Oh, longer. They were longer. But when I say this thing was ripped, it looked like a genetic freak of a thing. Like someone had genetically modified. This thing is an absolute weapon in all aspects of it. This thing was big, it had the arms, was ripped. When I say perfectly proportioned, it was perfectly proportioned for whatever that species was. I imagine whatever I seen was the best of that species. Its bloodline was like something. just genetic freak. I was if this thing wanted me, I was dead. But at the same time, I didn't feel I was scared, but I didn't feel a threat from it. It was like, look, I'm here, you see me. It knew that if I just see it, it'll be enough to almost mess with me. It doesn't have to do anything. It doesn't have to do anything to me physically, because it was almost like it was telling me, look, you're going to see me. This is it. I'm here. That's the feeling. And then it's almost like, well, yeah, you don't want to tell anyone. I know what I've seen. But I've always been someone that needs to have proof. I've seen this thing, and now I know this stuff is real. I'm just thankful that you could at least listen to me. I know you've listened to a lot of stories and stuff. Of course, not everyone's going to have these experiences. I never thought this would happen. I seen it. I'm not going to let that experience hinder me from going out and enjoying life and doing this stuff. Yeah, that's my experience, Paul. And as bizarre as it might sound to some people, I'm glad you gave me the opportunity to get it off my chest, because I feel significantly better. So thank you for that.
The emotion and anxiety in the witness's voice is unmistakable. It can be a deeply emotive reaction when replaying the event over and over in your mind. You said it plainly. There's no defence. There's nothing a man can do. You're at its mercy. And I know the feeling. He further stated that he'd always wondered why people in these situations didn't do something, didn't do more. And now he understands. People can't. It doesn't work that way. He told us he'd never felt so helpless in his life. Any witness will tell you, regardless of how many cameras you have on hand, cameras, gear, bravado, you're not going to do anything to provoke this unpredictable situation. I was talking about this just last week when revisiting my Ormo and Kilkeven and Wee Jasper encounters. Situations not in my hand, outcomes not in my terms, and I was lucky. In this report, the Yowie stood motionless, expressionless, like a statue. This scenario closely mirrors the events described by our Borders Rangers witness. Today's witness also describes a profound impact on his mental health, what he believes to be PTSD, and he's not alone. This reaction is not new, and it's perfectly acceptable to feel this way. You're not alone, you're not the first, and you won't be the last. A powerful report, and welcome to the club. Thanks for listening.
I'll show you things you wouldn't believe. Wouldn't believe.